Welcome to What About PS, a Poland Syndrome podcast, where we talk about all things Poland Syndrome. The episodes that you can look forward to in this podcast speak about the male and female experience, motherhood and breastfeeding, general day-to-day living, health and fitness, and also including hand and chest affected people who have Poland Syndrome. If you have Poland Syndrome, or if you know of someone who has Poland Syndrome, then be sure to have a look out and listen to our latest episodes. Welcome back to another episode of What About PS, a Poland Syndrome podcast. Today, it's just going to be me and Kira talking, but we're going to be talking about a really interesting topic that kind of popped up and was something that, we could both relate to. And that is non-surgical options for females, specifically who have Poland Syndrome, and then also kind of talking about our experiences with the surgical route. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. It's going to be really fun to hear more about Kira's experience and almost do some self-reflection on my experience as well, which I don't think is something I've actually done, especially around this topic. So I'm really excited. Thank you so much for joining us, Kira.
Hi.
Awesome. So before we get started, what was your kind of experience in your journey with Poland Syndrome?
Okay, so I had no idea what Poland Syndrome was really until I was about 16 and came across Becca's videos, our ambassador. So yeah, not being diagnosed at birth meant that I had a bit of a different journey to some other girls, just because I thought, oh my God, this is like so embarrassing. I'm the only girl ever that has to deal with this. So yeah, not having a name for it and also not knowing that other people had it as well meant that, yeah, it was a bit different. So I spent majority of my teens just hiding it, didn't tell anyone, not even parents, close friends, nothing. So it was a struggle also because I had quite a significant size difference. So obviously once I reached a certain age and was like at a certain point in my development, it became harder and harder to hide it. So when it came to things like summer going out, I remember like I'd be invited to pool parties, or I know that at like some point in my school we had school holidays, everyone went to Spain and everything. I was just like, I'm not gonna go because I can't hide this anymore. Like if I'm in tighter clothes or whatever, I can't walk around in dark jumpers all of summer. So yeah, that made it hard. So when I did find out that it had a name and that I wasn't alone, I kind of knew that, okay, I want to do something about this. And I had no idea that there were any other options out there to help me, things that might conceal my chest size difference or anything like that, other than getting surgery and getting an implant. And at that point as well, before I started getting involved in the Poland Syndrome community and speaking with PIP, I didn't even know that there was anything else other than an implant that was available to me. So yeah, that's kind of my experience.
How old were you when you started noticing that you had something different?
So I would say I was probably around 11 when I started noticing that I wasn't quite developing right. But I would say I was probably around 13 when I was like, okay, this isn't normal anymore. Because I remember at the start, like when I was searching up, like, why are my boobs not growing at the same rate? They would say things like, oh, it's normal. Like you'll have like 1 or 2 cup sizes difference, or, oh, like one boob always grows faster than the other or something like that. So yeah, I was kind of convincing myself like, it'll be okay. Like I'll just wake up one morning and like everything will be fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd say I was probably around like 12 or 13 when I started really noticing that something wasn't quite right.
Like this is just not growing.
Yeah.
And did you tell your parents about it, or was it something that you kind of went through alone?
So I would definitely say I went through it alone. I mean, when I say that, obviously I was 17 when I had my first ever surgery. So obviously it was a shorter time span for me than some other women that I know sort of hit it up until their 40s or 30s. But yeah, I did go through all of that alone until I found Becca's video and started researching. And I remember telling like one of my closest friends at the time about it. just sort of thinking like, oh my God, this is like this huge big secret, like what's she gonna say? Like, is she gonna turn around and be like, oh my God, I don't want to be a friend anymore, this is so like weird. But yeah, she was so lovely about it. And I remember it was speaking to her and having all the conversations with her, and also her opening up, like being like, hey, I have insecurities too, you know, none of us are perfect, that then made me feel comfortable enough to go to my mom and be like, hey mom, I've got this big secret I've been hiding for like 5 years. But yeah.
And did your mom kind of like suspect that she...
I don't think my mum suspected anything at the time. She was definitely very shocked when I first told her about it. And I think she was a little bit sad as well that I didn't actually go to her at any point and open up about anything. But obviously, you know, being in that situation, you think it's so embarrassing, like no one can know. So it wasn't really like that I didn't feel comfortable enough or anything to tell her. It was more of a personal sort of issue. But I know that we've had conversations since, and she sort of said, you know, putting two and two together, knowing what I do now, I can see like, oh my God, when we went on holiday that time, you wouldn't get in the pool, you wouldn't go to the water park, you wouldn't do this, you wouldn't do that. Like I now know it's because you had something that you were trying to hide. And I think before they all just sort of thought like she just doesn't want to take part, she's being lazy or this or that. So yeah, I think now looking back, she kind of recognizes stuff, but yeah, definitely didn't at the time.
It's, you know, it's incredible that you came across, you know, Becca's videos, and that really helped you put a name to it. And, you know, that's why I'm really excited for something like this podcast, because if one person just stumbles upon it and they're able to, you know, see that, oh, I'm not alone, there are other people like me, you know, we need to get that word out, because I've heard so many people's stories ever since, you know, I came into contact with PIP, where people were diagnosing themselves, they didn't know. And, you know, up until, like you're saying, their 40s, where they would just come across something on the internet. And I think if we can help people really be able to understand what's going on from a young age, then at least they know, you know, that was my experience. So I had a completely different experience to you because I was diagnosed so young. I knew how my body was gonna, it was always just normal. Do you know what I mean? I remember being like really, really young and looking at myself in the mirror and thinking, it's weird how these like random things just stick with you, but thinking to myself, like, I'll never know what it feels like to quote unquote be normal or have a normal chest. But I was like, this is my norm. So I don't know anything different. And I knew what was going on. You know, I knew that when I was 18, I would have surgery, and I knew how that progression was going to go. And I think for me, you know, it was also a bit easier because I was never blessed in that department. I was always a small cup, which honestly probably helped. You know, it's a problem now because you know, I do a lot of sports, and the more body fats I lose, you know, the smaller my chest gets, but I have an implant on the other side, so I can't let the other side get too small, you know. Anyway, so, but I can definitely relate to, you know, feeling uncomfortable in certain costumes, or I would be very particular about what shirts I wear. So, you know, I never wore low cut shirts, especially before the surgery, because you just couldn't. You know, I didn't have access, or I didn't know of, you know, like we're going to talk about later, certain bras that have different cup sizes. And so my kind of go-to was to always wear padded bras, very padded bras, because that way, then at least if I was wearing a full shirt, you know, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. But I had to be very particular about what shirts I wore, what costumes I wore. And it does play on your mind a lot. You know, do people notice? And, you know, what will they think? And, you know, all of those things. But I'm interested to hear from you. You know, you had surgery. So firstly, how were your feelings on finding a surgical route? You know, and that kind of, because I'll share mine later, and mine was, it was interesting, but I'd like to hear how that was for you.
Yeah, so like I said, I stumbled across Becca's video, and in her video, she said she'd been offered a free NHS boob job, which she had declined, but it was made available to her. So I sort of started looking into that, and there's not a lot out there, but I did find like a few little NHS website pages that said, if you have really significant asymmetry, it is possible that you can get a boob job for free. So that was really all I knew that was out there. I didn't know about bras. I didn't know about breast forms or anything like that. I just thought, right, surgery, like that's what I'm going to have to do. And at that point, all I knew, like when I thought boob job, all that would come into my mind is implants. And being someone that did have quite a significant size difference, I was quite nervous about that because I thought, well, one's going to be a natural looking boob and then the other one's going to be quite perky. So I didn't really know how to feel about it. Like I knew that I wanted surgery because I knew, I didn't want to live the rest of my life hiding. And I knew that I wasn't going to be able to sort of fix my mindset. It was going to have to be either something that was in my bra or surgery, or like something was going to have to change for me to be able to enjoy things like summer and swimming and stuff like that. So yeah, I knew I wanted surgery, but I definitely had sort of some like reluctant sort of aspect to it because of the fact that I thought like, oh well, I'm never going to look normal, like what you were saying earlier. You're always going to be able to tell a difference. But yeah, and it actually wasn't until a week before my surgery was scheduled that someone in the group chat mentioned a fat transfer. And so I made an appointment, I think about 3 or 2 days before my surgery was scheduled, and said to my surgeon, like, hey, I've heard about this thing called fat transfer. Is that something that I can get? And she sort of just said, yeah, we can do that for you. Like, no problem. And so, yeah, that was that. And then 2 days before my surgery, totally changed my mind, and then got a reduction and uplift on my unaffected side and a fat transfer on my affected side. So yeah, it was definitely a lot of hesitation, but I knew that I wanted to do it.
So you don't have an implant, it's just the fat transfer?
Yeah, so I've had 2 fat transfer surgeries now, and then 3 like surgeries in general.
Yeah. That's amazing, because when I went, well, the one that I have now is an implant. And then the second part of the surgery was a fat transfer, kind of like in the upper, because there's almost like a little dent between like near my armpit kind of thing. It's kind of like a little dent. And I actually chose not to go through with it because honestly, quite frankly, like I don't like having surgery. Like I just remember not being able to like play sports or anything for 6 weeks. And I was like, I can fit in a bra now, so that's fine. I'm not going to go through that again. But that was the option that I was basically going down, was the implant and the fat transfer. But I think I'm sure the surgeries differ based on what you're missing or what you have, because from my side, I think I was missing the bottom part. So I think it's the PIC minor or major. I'm not too sure. But I can definitely relate obviously I knew that I was going to have surgery. Like you were saying earlier, I wasn't aware that there were other options, and we'll get into that, in this episode. But I was always kind of like, well, I'm getting surgery. That's going for a checkup when I'm 16, and when I'm 18, that's when everything's going to happen. And I remember I went to the first doctor, and I was already so nervous because I didn't want an implant. For me personally, I like to keep things as natural as possible, and to have kind of like a foreign object inside my body just made me feel weird and like anxious. It was something that I wasn't really keen on. And then what made it worse is that there's 16 or 17-year-old little G going into the doctor's office, and it was a male doctor, and he just, I think, handled things so badly. It was really awkward. I had to obviously, undress and be checked out, which is already kind of nerve-wracking being a girl and doing that for the first time ever. But I kept telling myself, he's a professional, like this is what they do. They've seen many boobies, it's fine. But then I'll never forget, we went and sat down at his desk afterwards, and he was like, cool. So the plan of action is we're going to do 2 implants, both sides D-cup. And he pulled the implants out. They were like silicone implants, and like threw them on the table. And he was like, that's, and my mom immediately was like, okay, thanks, bye. And I remember getting back into the car and I was just crying because I'm like, I'm going into this consultation not wanting something that is like synthetic or fake or like already not being keen on it. And now I have this guy throwing double D's in my face going, this is your option. This is your only option. Why do you want to touch my other boobie? My other one is fine. You know, like I'm an A cup, not even smaller. And you want to give me D cups on both sides. So it was kind of like, I wouldn't say traumatic, but you know, when you're so young and you're already so scared about what's going to happen, to have that happen, it didn't help. But luckily, the next surgeon I went to, she actually did reconstructive surgery. So it wasn't necessarily like plastic surgery, it was reconstructive surgery. And she had actually dealt with 2 Poland syndrome patients prior to my surgery. And her consultation process was very different. You know, she explained how the surgery was going to go for me. She said, we're going to put, they didn't even put a full cup in. It almost looks like a tear, like a tear-shaped, implant. That's going to be the first step, and then the second step is the fat transfer, etc. And she kept assuring me, we're gonna make it look as natural as possible, and and that made me feel so much better. But just kind of wanted to share the story in case people are thinking of going the surgical route. Definitely get different opinions, because Poland syndrome is so rare, so rare, that there aren't a lot of doctors right now that firstly know what it is, or secondly know how to go about it. So just make sure that you find someone that you feel comfortable with. Don't rush into any decision making. And we were talking before the episode about if we had the option of non-surgical, going that route, which was something I didn't even think of, because that's not something that I really thought was an option. Kira, if you had to kind of go back and you knew there were the surgical options and the non-surgical options, would you make the same decision you made now, or would you make a different decision?
So I feel very passionately about this. Like I said, I knew nothing. I just thought that surgery was my only answer. But also going into surgery, obviously I explained to you that I was a little bit hesitant because I thought that things might not look the same still. They might feel a little bit different with the whole implant situation. I had no idea that having surgery doesn't just fix the way that you feel about your body. I thought, I'm going to have surgery. My boobs are going to look fine. I'm going to feel great. I'm going to have amazing times in summer. I'm going to be going to the beach. I'm going to be doing this. And I actually feel like, and I don't want to discourage anyone from getting surgery. I want everyone to make their own decision, but an informed decision, because surgery is a big deal. It is a big deal. You'll have to, take a lot of time to recover. It's a big deal to even just watch your body change and things like that. It's a lot to take in. And I feel like my mindset was a little bit worse after I had surgery, because before I was doing this whole hiding sort of situation. I accepted the fact that I wasn't perfect. I accepted the fact that I wasn't normal and just hid. But then when I started my surgery journey, my mindset totally shifted into a perfectionist type of thing. So I was constantly looking at myself, constantly looking at my boobs, do they look okay? Do they look even? Do they look like this? Do they look like that? And I was hyper fixating on it. So before, I just had to make sure, I'm hidden, no one can see. That's that. And then after, I was sort of thinking do they look okay? In this bikini, can people tell in this top? And I feel like it made me notice it more, and it made me more aware of everything. And also having a reduction and an uplift, I have scars from that as well, which is something that I really struggled with, because I went from feeling like I had one normal boob and then one not normal boob to 2 boobs that didn't look normal. So that was a whole other thing that I struggled with as well. So I do feel like maybe it was a little bit of the not expecting to feel that way that made it a bit worse. But I did kind of feel a little bit disappointed. especially because surgery was not easy for me. Like I had nerve damage and muscle damage from liposuction in my thighs from one of the fat transfers. I also got disfigured in my thighs as well, so I have dips from where the fat was taken out now. And I had been offered to have like sort of like a reconstructive surgery for that and get a little bit more liposuction, but I didn't want to risk it, and I also don't want more unnecessary surgeries. Like, it's a lot, and it made me miss a lot of time when I was in sixth form, which is a very crucial time. You've got like big exams coming up and everything, and I missed a lot. So it definitely wasn't an easy decision, and I did feel like coming out of it, if I could go back to the start, knowing that I could just have a little breast like form or a specialist bra that I could use, and that would sort of sort me out and make it so that I can wear certain tops, like my tight tops and things like that, and no one would notice. I don't know if I would have gone ahead, because I still feel like I'm not normal. I'm never gonna be happy with my body, even though I am happier now because I can wear low cut tops and things like that. Like, I'm never gonna be fully happy, and I'm never gonna feel like I'm fully normal, which is something I didn't anticipate. So yeah, I might have decided, knowing everything that was to come and everything that I was gonna go through, I don't know if I would have gone ahead. I don't know.
That's so interesting. I loved what you said about surgery is a massive deal, and it is. I've had 3 surgeries last year. I had 3 surgeries, 2 hip surgeries, 1 knee surgery. Wouldn't recommend it, guys. Terrible. But, it was all from sports and injuries and stuff. But before I had those surgeries, my physios and my bios were like, we're going to work as hard as possible to fix this through physio and rehab. Surgery is the last option, because it's like taking any kind of medication. There's always going to be a side effect, or like, the recovery process, etc. And, it's the same with having surgery for Poland syndrome. It's serious. It's a serious thing, and you can't really take it back. And, I was thinking about this today as well when we kind of said we were going to talk about it. Would I have had the surgery, or would I have, gone the non-surgical route? And I think maybe I would have I didn't have the same experience as you, and I'm sorry that you had to go through that, because that's not fun. And no, it doesn't sound fun at all. But I think maybe telling people that there is a non-surgical route, and explore that first, at least until you are an adult, or, like you were saying, you can make more informed decisions, and not kind of promoting that surgery is the only way to fix it. Because, you might be happy with the way your body looks, but you just want your clothes to fit better, then go the non-surgical route. Feel things out first, I think, before making such a hectic decision, and something that's gonna, be with you forever. And it kind of also brings the topic of, when you're talking about, perfection and, body image. And I think even a typical, and I say that in quotation, someone with a typical body, which actually doesn't happen because everyone's got imperfections in their bodies, they will also have body image issues, right? And now you're a person that is different from your typical body type, and you have to learn to love yourself even more. And like you're saying, you can't put that love and that hope in a surgery. You need to practice that self-care. And something that I really respect about Becca is that she owns it. This is who I am, this is how I am, and I love myself for it. And it's not discouraging people to not get surgery. I don't regret getting surgery at all, but I think understanding that you must love yourself with or without surgery, doesn't matter how you look, I think is really, really important. And I think that'll be something that we'll definitely talk about, further on in the podcast as well, and hear more people's experiences, because I think body image issues and things like that can have a huge role in the decisions that we make. And like you said, we just need to be making informed decisions. Yeah, so there are different options, and something I wanted to just end off with Kira talking about is the body image, and things relating to non-surgical, surgical, her thoughts around that.
Yeah, so I don't want to ever discourage anyone from getting surgery. It's definitely a personal choice. And while it is so amazing that Becca is able to own it and be confident in her body and the way that she is and decline surgery, it's not the best option for everyone. I know that it probably wouldn't have been the best option for me at the time, only because I knew that my mindset was I was never going to be able to sort of own it and be proud about it and show it off and not care about what other people think. I knew like I needed something to conceal it. So it definitely depends on what your mindset is. And I never want to discourage anyone from getting it, but I just want people to know that it's not a magic answer, because I really went into it thinking that I would be solved, all my problems would be solved. And it's such a big deal. And obviously it depends on what kind of surgery you have, but you will always be able to tell a slight difference. It's never going to be totally perfect and totally quote normal. And also, if you have certain types of surgery like a reduction and uplift, you're going to have scars and you're going to have things like that as well. So it's definitely not a magic answer. And I think the biggest thing, aside from surgery and non-surgical options, is to focus on your mindset, connecting with the community, and whatever works for you, whether that's sort of looking in the mirror and hyping yourself up, or connecting with other girls, or maybe even going to a therapist and talking about it. And I know that with PIP we do sort of mindset and well-being sessions and stuff together as well, which really helped me. But yeah, it's definitely a big mindset thing. And I know I was talking to my boyfriend, who will probably be listening to this at some point. I was talking to him about it literally the other day, about the potential of me getting another surgery next year. And one of the biggest things he said to me is, it's a massive risk, so you really need to think about that, considering what has happened before. But the biggest thing is your mindset. If it's going to make you happier and you know that, then do it. If it's not, don't do it. So yeah, 100%. I definitely think never feel like you have to go along with surgery. It's something you need to do if it's not going to make you happier. And just please don't think that it's a magic answer, because it's not.
100%.
But yeah, it definitely does help. And I don't regret getting it. I would do it again 100%. But I just wish that I'd sort of known that there was more out there as well, so I could have made a informed choice.
Yeah, I agree. I think, mindset is important to work on in any regard. And I'm with you on that. I don't regret getting my surgery. It made my life a lot easier and it made me happier. But like you said, whatever route you take, just be sure to work on your mindset. Everyone needs to be doing that anyways. And really excited to bring Kate on now. She is going to be talking to us more about her company called Evenly and the Uneven Titty Committee that she has as well, and kind of shed light onto more of the non-surgical options that people can look forward to. Perfect. So Kate, thank you so much for joining us. I would just ask if you can just tell the audience a bit about who you are and what you do, and your involvement with people with Poland syndrome. And yeah, I'm really excited to get to chat to you.
Fantastic. Well, I'm Kate and I founded a company called Evenly based in the UK, and we are committed to developing non-surgical solutions to breast asymmetry, no matter what the cause. So whether that be Poland syndrome or for all the many other reasons that ladies do experience breast asymmetry, whether that's breastfeeding, hormones, pregnancy, post-cancer surgery. Obviously there's a plethora of reasons. And it actually started with the development of a bra. So actually before that, it started with feet. So I have one foot slightly different size to the other. And it was frustrating me how shoes kept falling off the smaller foot. And I was thinking, this is madness. Why can't you buy shoes in mismatched size pairs? And I started looking into it as a potential business, and I was speaking to people to get their feedback, and women, their resounding feedback was, shoes are a pain, but bras are a bigger issue. I can never get a bra that fits both breasts well. And I'd always had that issue, just, the fact that breasts are sisters, not twins. So one was always larger than the other. But I didn't realize until I spoke to women that is really common. And I thought, okay, well, that's even more, a viable need that needs to be addressed, because every woman's talking, saying that they experience this, and yet there's no solutions. It's not really talked about. So then it began with the bra. So I thought, right, I want to design a bra for breast asymmetry. And I got to working with lots of designers and lingerie technicians. And I have, after quite a few years now of R&D, developed a bra design that I'm now looking for the right lingerie partner to help me to launch. So hopefully that's coming. But in the meantime, I realized obviously what a big task it is to develop a new product like that, and how much there was just an urgent need for a solution in the meantime. So I developed our silicone bra balancers. So I launched Evenly, and the bra balancers are available now. So we sell those online. They're a type of silicone breast prosthetic, but they are purposefully designed for asymmetry. So unlike, a mastectomy prosthetic, which is designed to replace the whole breast, or a lumpectomy prosthetic, which is just designed for a section of the breast, these are designed to fill the void that you may experience in your bra cup on your smaller side. Obviously, if you're wearing a bra that's well fitted to your larger breast, which is what we recommend, there's that void, and this fills that gap, creates a nice smooth appearance, but also helps with the weight imbalance. So as obviously on your smaller side, there's less weight, and your bra can't then distribute the weight of your chest evenly. So in a very long-winded answer to your question, that's what we exist to do, is to serve that community of women with breast asymmetry. We do get many customers approaching us with Poland syndrome, and we've been really thrilled to be able to help them with our products. We also run a breast asymmetry support group on Facebook, again, that has a number of women with Poland syndrome in, where people can share stories and tips and advice, because we realise what a sort of taboo topic it can be, and also how there's very little in the way of conversations and support. So the brand is sort of trying to address that from many different angles, really.
I love that. I think what you're doing is so amazing. And I think almost, putting it out there so that it's not a taboo topic. I mean, before Kira and I were talking how even if you aren't someone who has a deformity that affects the chest, like you were saying, boobies are sisters, not twins. I love it. I love that saying. Never heard it before. But, whether it's your chest or your feet or the size of your legs, like no body is 100% perfect. And for some reason, we just think that it is, and that unless your body is perfect in whatever capacity that means, then there's something wrong. And, we were talking earlier about how when we were growing up, because we obviously both have Poland syndrome, we never thought that there were non-surgical approaches to that. So we both got surgery, and I was saying to Kira that I, would wear really padded bras so that I could have that even look up until I got surgery. Kira was mentioning how some girls would, put socks in their bras, and so there's obviously a need for it. And it's amazing that you guys are, filling that need and really changing girls' lives and making people more comfortable speaking about it. What has been the kind of reaction, especially from people with Poland syndrome, to the bras, and what has been the general consensus of what Evenly does?
I mean, the resounding feedback, I think, from everyone, but including those with Poland syndrome, has just been the relief at finding a brand that's talking about breast asymmetry, but also not only through the lens of cancer treatments, because unfortunately a lot of the products, a lot of the websites that are out there, they're talking about it primarily through the lens of post-cancer surgery. And I think there's just been so much relief that a brand is finally addressing breast asymmetry no matter what the cause, and talking about how there are a plethora of reasons why breasts are asymmetrical, and as you quite rightly said, so many of our body parts and things in nature are not symmetrical. However, we've kind of been led to believe that they should be, because bras are perfectly symmetrical, so we believe that we're supposed to fix that, but we're supposed to fit that, but our ethos at Evenly is very much around it's it's not yourself that needs fixing, it's not your breasts that need fixing, it's the bras are the thing that are not right, not you and your breasts. So I think that's been the really positive feedback, has just been, you know, that acceptance of the issue, the fact that we try and be lighthearted in the way that we address it, because we want it to kind of be an everyday, you know, accessible topic. So for example, our breast asymmetry support groups called the Uneven Titty Committee, you know, we try not to take it all too seriously and just make sure that everyone knows that, you know, it's you know, it's common and it's normal, and we're here to help, and that, you know, there's no need to feel that shame around that.
Yeah, I love that. Kira has been telling me a lot about that Uneven Titty Committee. I personally think the name is amazing. Whenever something rhymes, I'm just such a sucker for it, and I think it's, you know, I love that, because even with this podcast, you know, we're talking about important things, and we're talking about things that we hope could change people's lives for the better, and we're going to be tackling, you know, some hard topics, but it doesn't mean that the nature of it should be dark and serious, and we want it to be uplifting and light and something that is easy for people to talk about, because, you know, it, like you were saying, this shouldn't be a taboo topic, and people should be able to you know, talk about these things freely. So tell me a little bit more about the Uneven Titty Committee, because I've been hearing a lot about it, so I want to, you know, learn more about what you guys do there.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, it's a Facebook group, it's a private group. So if you join, and we carefully sort of check profiles to make sure that, you know, it's people that are going to abide by the rules and respect the community that we've built. But once in there, no one can see, your Facebook friends can't see what you post unless they're also a member of the group. So it's just a nice private space full of women in the same situation. As I mentioned, women have breast asymmetry for a plethora of reasons, and they can just share any tips people are asking, you know, advice about bras, bra fitting, breast forms, things like how to approach dating. You know, if you've got a drastic breast asymmetry, you know, that can create a lot of anxiety around sort of dating new partners, or showing up, you know, or, you know, wearing swimwear, or those sorts of anxieties. We get quite a few women sort of sharing those worries, and then everyone can sort of contribute with their feedback and try and reassure each other, and give advice about sort of maybe when to bring it up with a new partner, or whether, you know, whether to do that or not. So it's just that sort of space where I think that unfortunately there's sort of nowhere else to have those conversations at the moment. So it's just a space where it's open, you know, to anything and everything kind of uneven boob related, really.
I love that. And what are the biggest challenges you would say your community members who have specifically Poland syndrome kind of talk about on the community?
I think a lot of the conversations have been around sort of diagnosis and kind of understanding. I know with Poland syndrome, unfortunately, it seems quite hit and miss in terms of getting a diagnosis and getting, you know, medical professional sort of help. Certainly, you know, we have members in the group from all over the world, but there are a fair few from the UK, and they've shared experiences about approaching the NHS and trying to get the right support. And it's certainly something that we've, as a brand as well, we're trying to look more into as to whether there is appropriate support within the NHS for breast asymmetry in general, but for certainly with Poland syndrome as well. And why is it that, you know, so many ladies almost have to self-diagnose, which is really unfortunate. But a member of the community, she shared a story with me, which I know she'll be happy for me to share, but she said that she approached a doctor, multiple doctors within the NHS, who didn't recognise Poland syndrome, and they weren't sure what her issue was. They kept asking for her to come back as she would grow older, and then she ended up going to a private surgeon in the end, who immediately said, you know, I believe you have Poland syndrome. Has anyone ever mentioned that to you? And then she went away, did her own research, and has kind of come to understand it better, and is now using our bra balances, which is excellent. But I think that's been just a real topic of conversation for people, is getting that right support and that diagnosis and that help.
Before we came on here, Kira and I were talking about our experiences with Poland syndrome, and they were very different. Kira kind of had to diagnose herself based on, what she saw on social media, and I was the complete opposite. I was diagnosed as a baby, but it was really, really interesting. And this is why I love, projects like Evenly and what PIP is doing and getting the word out. My fiance, he has a gaming night with the boys on Friday, and he passed me the headset and he was like, talk to one of the friends who's he's a doctor, and he's busy writing his exams because he wants to move over to Australia and practice there. And he said, gee, there was a question in the exam around Poland syndrome. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And he said he didn't know what Poland syndrome was. But the night before the exam, he had seen something I'd posted with PIP, and that's how he knew what it was. And I thought that was so awesome for two reasons. Firstly, it's really awesome to see that people, doctors and academia are now actually including Poland syndrome in their tests and in their research. And secondly, to see that, people are looking at what we're posting and what we're doing, whether that's PIP or Evenly, it might not seem like it, but people are looking. And even if it changes one person's life or educates one person in the right field, that could, change the course of someone's life. And so I think that's really awesome. And just another thought quickly, you were talking about how, fitting clothes and how we often have to feel like our bodies are at fault for something not fitting. It's actually absurd, because it's like going and trying on a pair of jeans and it doesn't fit. Jeans never really are, they're terrible to fit anyone, but we always say that the jeans are at fault. We're never like, oh, it's our bodies are at fault, or this cut just doesn't fit my body, so why shouldn't it be the same for bras?
Exactly. That's really good. That's a good comparison, because you're absolutely right. We tend to, for some reason, I think because breasts are obviously not as visible to everyone else, so you can go through, for years thinking that you're the only one with that asymmetry or any kind of difference, because we don't see breasts all day every day, because they're covered up, and therefore we can just internalize those issues because we don't really have any basis for comparison. I'm pretty sure if we were all to just walk around topless, we'd probably all have a lot less insecurities, because we'd just realize how incredibly common and normal it is, and we'd all feel a lot more comfortable. But unfortunately, the only things that we do sort of see are those projected to us in the media, and everything's obviously kind of perfected and perfectly symmetrical and all of that to kind of sell those bras and to present a certain image. So it's unfortunately got quite skewed, but hoping to change that. And I think it's fantastic the work that you're doing and PIP-UK is doing, and we do encourage people that contact us asking about Poland syndrome to go to the charity and to find out more and to speak to you, because I think it's, like you say, education is key, and getting that awareness and that information is just such a help to those women.
And I think, being able to work with people like you just makes it so much better. We can both provide help in different ways. And, thank you so much for the work that you're doing. And thank you so much for taking time to talk to us and share with everyone the amazing work that you do. Before we, head out, I wanted to ask, what are things that people can look forward to for Evenly and the Uneven City Committee? What are things that you guys are working on? What are some goals that you have, and where can people find you?
Yeah, great. So, people can find us on the website, which is evenlybreasts.com. We're also on Facebook and Instagram at We Are Evenly. As I mentioned, we have the silicone bra balances. They're available now. We ship worldwide, and we do offer easy exchanges and returns, because we appreciate that sizing can sometimes be a challenge. But we have 3 different ranges to suit different levels of asymmetry, whether that's 1 cup size, 1 to 2 cup sizes, or 2 to 3 cup sizes difference between your breasts. And within those ranges, we have various sizes to suit different bra sizes. So we have loads of options, and we're always really happy to help people figure out their size, or we have a fit finder as well on our website. So those are available now, and we're just about moving into wholesale, so you'll start to see them hopefully popping up in lingerie boutiques local to you, so you'll be able to try them on and get a bra fitting at the same time. That's our intention. So that's coming. As I mentioned, we do have a bra design for breast asymmetry, and we're now in talks with some lingerie partners around who can help us bring that to market, because obviously that's quite an undertaking, and we really want to create quite some market disruption with that. But hopefully in the not too distant future, those will be available as well. But certainly the bra balances are available now, and you can wear them in any regular bra. It doesn't need to be a pocketed bra, and restore some comfort and confidence, we hope.
Amazing. I love that so much. And, hopefully this talk and everything that Evenly is doing, and by extension PIP, can really help people embrace their, I'm not even going to say imperfections, but just embrace themselves for everything and not compare yourself to social media, because it's not real. And hopefully that we can get that message across, and really, like Kira and I were saying earlier on, love yourself, learn to love yourself, work on your mindset, and accept yourself for everything that you are. So Kate, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. Kira, is there anything you'd like to say or ask before we go?
No, not at all. I don't have anything. I think you've covered everything. But I just want to say it is amazing what work Evenly have been doing, and also the support that you have for all the women in our community as well. I see more and more people every day talking about how they love Evenly and how the bra balances really, really help them. So we're so appreciative of your support, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow us and subscribe to our podcast, and follow us on our social media platforms, Instagram and Facebook. See you soon.